Hello, dear viewers. I am Sidhu Raman, a very concerned citizen of India about the consequences of the present different unlawful activities that are being carried on by the different political parties. Dear friends, I know that most of the youngsters are now hankering after pleasure seeking. They are getting involved in temporary pleasure making activities and they are not concerned about the effect of their different actions they are doing at present. And because of this thoughtlessness, our youngsters are doing all these different unlawful activity recklessly and they are not using their mind by using their sensible mind power. They are not doing anything out of a deep thought. Rather, they are consuming their own sentiment and they are acting just at the instruction of their so-called leaders, those who are making them their wrong pathfinder. They are following the wrong path in the way that they are not proving that they are human beings. History has its proof, my friends, that when the common people are involved in different violence and communal activities, communal hostilities and violences, then they are generally taking the society and the community both in towards a very great disasters. We have our evidences in history of Europe and history of our country as well. You know that in the initial stage, when the crusade was going on, the huge number of Christians, they carried on their journey towards east to fight against the Muslims, and a huge number of people lost their lives and they lost their property and so on. This did not bring any benefit for the people. Rather, that satisfied their temporary, that certain pleasure seeking of getting a certain temporary enjoyment or satisfactions of their zeal. But that will not bring any permanent solution of the economic problem of the country. And that's why that crusade went in vain by taking the death toll to a large number. Again, we saw in United Kingdom that the people of Protestant group, they were looked down by the vast number of Catholic Christians and they started fighting. The people of the same religious community, they fought against each other, and by fighting for a long time, ultimately they had to divide the country in the form of Irish Ireland and Great Britain. A part of Ireland was divided into two parts. Northern part came in the hand of the British zone and the southern part went in the hand of the Protestants. And you see, this religious fighting brought a breakup of the country. The small island country which was constituted of only 4 islands, that is Wales, Scotland, England and Ireland. That Ireland was again subdivided due to this type of religious communal differences and hostilities. The people of same community, they started hating each other just only for their dogmatic differences. The Protestants were pushed back towards Ireland south, and ultimately the country brought a peace only by making a truce between the Great Britain and the Irish Republic. So this is the way, that is the outcome of this communal violences. That's why I do emphasize on the point that communal violence cannot bring any solution of any political, socio-economic problems. That's why you should be concerned. I know that many of the youth will not understand what I say, and they don't have that mind also, I do say. They will dislike my view and they will give their dislike. I don't mind for that. Let them dislike, at least they give their comments. That's why I am not at all concerned about, not all feeling any sort of hesitated by seeing their negative liking. Make them like they are negatively. But it is true, and I will say the truth boldly enough. and I am not getting hesitated by seeing the number of people, those who are in a large number, but they are all hooligans, they are fools. But if the fools are in a large number, but if the only single wise man is there in the world, that wise man will save the whole society. That's why we should join in the group of the wise men. We should not get involved in sort of unwise people or crooked people, those who are having only interest in making a fighting for their own sake. Here people are fighting for their own sake, just to get their personal interest fulfilled. They don't have any mind for bringing any gross development for the commoners. That's why those youngsters, those who are thinking of bringing a gross change in the socio-economic situation by fighting only in the name of religion, they are only living in the fool's paradise. That's why I do emphasize that don't live in fool's paradise, rather come in the paradise of thoughtfulness. Be thoughtful more. We have seen that the people of Islamic religion, they started fighting among themselves in the name of Shia and Sunni sect. Those were the Sunni sect. They started looking down upon the Shia sect, and still that certain hostility is continuing. And this is the fact that although Islam is a religion of peace, but here a large number of people, they don't have the meaning of, they don't have the knowledge about the meaning of Islam, and they generally emphasize on fighting in the name of religion. That this has not brought any sort of financial gain for the Shias and for the Sunnis. Still they look down upon, and by breeding hatred, they create only hostility. They do not emphasize that certain value of Islam, that Islam is a religion of peace. The peace has been questioned by these two hostile religious sect only. Although of the same religion, but they have their hostility. The Christians also, they showed their similar attitude all the time, the Catholics and the Protestants. That's why the Protestant has been identified as separate religious sect. In our country, the majority people, those who are thinking that by joining in this type of communal different activities, they will bring a gross change in the socio-economic situation. But it is not true. It is utterly lie. It is false. And this will only create disharmony, hostility, and a lot of fightings and rift between the two major communities. And in the long run, it will just break up the country into pieces. People are not going to lose their land. We have already seen in the epic Mahabharata, while Duryodhana said that I will not let the Pandavas to occupy a small piece of soil which can be taken by a needle. Thus pride ultimately brought an end of Duryodhana and all the Kauravas. Similarly, although Kauravas are hundreds and Pandavas are only 5, still dharma, the righteousness, the religious of dharma and righteousness was with the Pandavas, and ultimately they got the victory and they became the victorious, and they vanquished the majority Kauravas. Similarly, if this type of false pride is being carried on by a majority people of our country, then they are only siding with the Kauravas, and the Pandavas will surely win in the long run when they will be in the path of righteousness. And in our country, there are large number of people that don't give importance to this type of communal misfeelings and communal hostility. And their number is more than the people, those who believe in ethnic violence or communal violence. A large number of people are there, those are very liberal, and those are very gentle by nature, and their soberness cannot be questioned. And I do have faith in the soberness and gentleness of all those liberal people, those who are true Indians. They love the country and they love the Indians. They don't identify them in the form of a particular religious sect or religious group or a religious community. They don't do so. They emphasize on the point of humanity, and I do feel that for the sake of the country, we have to give importance to the uphold the policy of emphasizing the establishment of harmony and the value of humanity. Otherwise, this type of religious sentiment, if these are continuing and if these are further aggravated, then it will just bring more rift, and this will create all recklessness among the Indians, and the country will surely to face another rift, another division, another partition. And if not partition, then only lot of blood shedding will be there, because people are not going to bow down the head unto the wish of the majority, because all the time majority is not true. That's why the majority, among the majority, only hardly 30-35% people are that much narrow-minded and mean-minded, and the rest of the people are liberal. I do feel that. Naturally, the liberal people should work together and just show their boldness to raise their voice against all sort of recklessness, all sort of unlawfulness, and all sort of uselessness that are being carried on by the government of the present time. Then this has to be prevented. This cannot be continued. This cannot be allowed to continue for only fulfilling the political aspiration of some so-called great leaders. They are not great. If they had been great, their names could have been in history, and they should have been respected by the people. But I do feel that some people, those who feel to be respected, they will not be respected in the long run. History will not pardon them. They will not be forgiven. And I am sure, and these people will be branded as the most worthless people in the history of the future world. You will see the people of the next generation after 50 years, 100 years, they will read about the history of present, and they will understand that there was a time when the country was ruled by some hooligans, some worthless people, those who had no love for the country. They did not have any love for the entire nation. They segregated people in the name of religion, in the name of caste, in the name of their ethnicity. And as Hitler did, the country's people segregated and fragmented. And this segregation and fragmentation of the people brought a lot of disasters to the people of Germany. And I do expect that the sensible people, all reasonable and rational people should think it. They are large in number, at least they are larger in number than the common hooligans. The youngsters will not understand it, but those who have their mind, they must use their mind power, and they must uphold the voice of humanity and save the country from being carried away, from being taken away, and from being usurped, from being forcibly taken by the hooligans, those who don't have any right to sit on the chair of the highest post, because they are not holding the post out of their common faith of all the people. They are getting the chance of holding the highest post only by misusing that certain little aloofness of the gentle people. The gentle people are a little bit aloof. If they had been more active, if they are very conscious about exercising their humanity and exercising their rationality, then this type of hooligans will not have been there in the power, and our country could not have avoided a lot of disasters, human disasters and financial disasters. I expect that you should think all these, and if you disagree with me, you can give your dislike, I don't mind, but if you like, then give your like and subscribe it. And I am trying my best alone. One of other different people also are doing the same, and at least I am trying my part to revive your sense and make you more sensible, so that our country can just save herself from being affected by the wrong steps of some unlawful political leaders. Thank you all. Have a nice time, and give your votes only by using your sensible mind and by just using your rationality. Don't get carried away by any sort of instigation or any sort of false inspirations given by some fools. Thank you all, particularly the genuinely scholarly people as well as sensible people. I thank you deeply from my heart. If you subscribe me, then I'll be happy to be connected with you. If you don't, then I will not be unhappy at all. Thank you all. Have a nice time.